Last we left our adventure, our heroes had successfully captured Corcus and recovered a significant amount of treasure from Orsor's fortress. They had returned to Felton carrying a paralyzed Corcus, and now they stand before him, ready to decide his fate. Corcus looks sheepish. He's looking at the characters in fear. He's sweating bullets. He can't move. He's helpless. He doesn't even have any armor on. What do you do?
So
So,
Harm, a hulking fellow, leans kind of. He's been carrying Corcus on his shoulder, and I set Corcus down, kind of plunk him roughly against the wall. I turn to Scythar. So, what do you want to do with him? I didn't carry him all that way for nothing, right?
Scythar will approach Corcus, kneel down, and get close to him and sort of whisper, "You fought well in the keep. You kept your honor as a warrior. Would you like to continue to do so, or hope that this paralysis leaves you in time? It may never
Kept
leave
his
you."
honor as a warrior. My ass. He made me take my clothes off. He threatened us.
I
I would have
assure you,
left
it
him
was
there if not for you,
purely
Scythar.
business. It was not personal. It was not personal harm. If you would simply carry me to a cleric who has the necessary spells to fix my condition, I would be happy to reward you in gold and future. This is an investment. Think about it.
Very well, I have no problem with that. I don't know that there's a cleric of such skill in Felton. There may be. But if there is, we'll make sure that you have access to them. If there is no such cleric in Felton, then I'm afraid we'll be moving on from you. So I pray that
And
you have good fortune.
I uncross my arms and kind of grumble. As you wish, boss. I'm gonna pick up Corcus and be ready to carry him to the nearest church.
Yeah, and Corcus weighs like really like 180 pounds of old man kind of strength. You kind of carry him left and right into Felton. You're looking around.
I'm gonna the first civilian I walk by in the street, I'm gonna say, "Excuse me, is there a church around here?"
Yes, the temple, a temple of, and he names a goddess. Uh, Points you in the direction of a temple.
Thanks. I'm gonna walk in that direction, try to find the temple described.
Okay, you walk in that direction. It's pretty simple. There's a high steeple, clear temple made of stone, marble, some brass ornaments, some nice columns line on the outside. It's obviously been there for many, many years. You walk to the front door. It stands open. There's a cleric there. What do you do?
I'm gonna turn to Scythar. I'm standing outside currently. So, I lean him against the wall outside. They'll come out and get him, right?
I suppose I'll go in and talk to the cleric then.
Okay.
Egler with me.
You walk up to a cleric. He has gray and white robes on. He's praying. He looks at you. You look at him. What do you do?
I'll give a courteous bow, and I'll say, "Pardon me, and I am loath to interrupt your prayers, but we have an injured man who needs assistance outside. Perhaps your goddess would be willing to spare a few spells to cure his afflictions. And of course, there would be a donation in it for the church, of course." And I'll pull out let's see, what do I got? I'll pull out a gold crown and place it in the offering tin, which is, I'm sure, close to the altar.
Oh yes, you place it in there. There's a clunk as it gets in the little tin. He's like, "Oh, your generosity is much appreciated. We'll take a look at him right away." And with that, they take in Corcus.
Before they can go outside, while Harm is now alone with Corcus, Harm quickly crouches down, drawing a dagger from his boot. He holds it to Corcus's throat, pressing the point so it draws a bit of blood. "Hang on, buddy. You're not out of the woods yet. I can still kill you before they get out here. Now you're gonna tell me, why was it you kidnapped that child? Why did you massacre the people of that village instead of just taking their stuff?"
Look, I was contracted by the Guild of the Raven. It's an organization I work for. I can't tell you more. They could kill me. They would kill me
I'll
with
kill you
more than just a
now.
dagger. They would torture me.
They torture you. You mean you can actually feel? I thought you were paralyzed.
I am paralyzed, yes, but they would find ways. Look, I can't tell you any more than that. It. Okay, they were they were contracted to do it. I don't know by who. I'm pretty low on the food chain.
Yeah, and at that point, I think Scythar and the priest come back out.
Oh,
and
he's right this way, cleric.
with
Yes,
your
he's right over
dagger.
here.
Okay, and when the cleric comes over, he's gonna shut himself up, and if you don't do anything, the cleric is just gonna take him away.
I'm gonna kind of straighten up and put away the dagger, watching the priest. I'm not like trying to hide it or anything. That I was just threatening him with the knife. And I say to Scythar, "You said the Guild of the Raven put him up to raiding that village or whatnot. Before it was captured, you see, some lizard folk originally, called us to arms. They said that those mercenaries had slaughtered many of their village and kidnapped a child of theirs. We managed to get the child back, but they seemed like such a good company of mercenaries, you see, except for that one thing. I couldn't figure out why they'd do it. Now we know. Looks like someone paid them to do it."
But why kidnap? It's beyond me. And then Eigler is writing all of this down, by the way. He's just taking notes. And
Got
then
it.
Scythar turned to the cleric and put a hand on his shoulder and lean in. Please let us know when he recovers, and don't let him go before we're able to speak with him.
Of course.
It's very important.
Yeah, it'll take some time to get the necessary people and the ingredients. I don't even know what's afflicting him. It'll take a while.
Paralyzed. Neck down.
Well, this is a unique condition. We'll have to consult with our elders before we make before we go for a
Very
treatment.
well.
Thank you very much.
Indeed, and I'll give him another courteous bow. All right then. I suppose we should go and make our way to the Lord's Manor. Report
Gotcha.
back.
Do you know anything about Raven Guild?
Scythar would confer with Eigler for a moment, and sort of like pour over their notes and their common recollections. Do either of them know anything about that DM?
Give me a history check with advantage, both of you.
Okay. History. Oop, I forgot to do advantage. 1 second. Let's do another normal.
Okay.
Hey, 22.
22 is going to give you a lot of information. So, the Guild of the Raven is an underground criminal network that is based in the west of Torronth. It is primarily used for certain raids, certain contract killings, assassinations, espionage, character assassinations, mostly in politics. There's also a fair amount of exploitation of both indigenous peoples and non-majority races that have less power in the kingdom. They'll do whatever it takes to gain power. They're very pragmatic. They have certain ties to many nobles, although you don't know which ones. You've heard of them through reputation. You've heard of them through what they've done, the stories that they've heard, the killings that they've supposedly, allegedly done, the people that in the organization that have been arrested. They are an enemy of the crown, so the king, King Hadrick, is currently trying to get rid of them, but he is sick and old, and he is not he's not what he once was.
Very good.
And are you guys are Scythar and Iglir talking about this aloud?
I would say that Eigler would be reminding Scythar of this in his case. And yeah, they would be having this conversation back and forth.
Harm's gonna cut in and say, "That sounds familiar. In a mercenary company, once the leader of my band, Old One Eye, well, there's a time when he was pretty popular. Someone didn't like that. They wanted to take his place, so they set up a bunch of evidence to make it seem like he'd beaten and killed one of the men. That sort of thing happens in the circles of power."
It would appear this council or this Guild of the Ravens is manipulating things behind the scenes, but also traffics in slaves and other illicit goods.
Yeah, my point there, if they do character assassinations, perhaps they wanted to plant that lizard folk infant on somebody to make it seem like something sick.
Interesting. Or they simply had a buyer who was interested. It could be more mundane. Either way, we will have more information to bring before Count Ulrich.
Okay. So you go to Count Ulrich's manor. The adventurers are welcomed to Count Ulrich's manor by a round of applause. Count Ulrich announces, "Please, come into my residence, heroes of Torronth." Looking in front of you, you see a centaur, you see a leonin, and you see 2 guards. And in the center, you see a nice, well-dressed goblin that is Count Ulrich, gesturing for you to come in.
Scythar will make his way forward, and he'll spare a glance at Atheus, the centaur.
Yes.
Just to like a contemptuous glance before turning back to Count Ulrich and giving an elaborate and respectful bow.
See, you can see that he has contempt for you as well, but he's doing his best to suppress it. Welcome, come in.
And Harm, as we're walking, says to Iglir, "A goblin, huh?"
Igler just shrugs at him. It would appear so.
And he sits down at one of these nice dining tables, gestures for you to sit as well. You are led to a dining area. The mansion is patrolled by guards and smells of pine and perfume. The stone floor is covered with expensive red carpet. The walls are made of smooth gray stone. Fresh red and yellow flowers decorate every room. Servants serve you wine and strawberries. You have done Felton and our nation a great service by removing those bloodthirsty raiders. On behalf of Torronth and the Lord's Alliance, we thank you. As Lord of Felton, I hereby award you the Bronze Star Medal as a reward for your gallantry and heroic service. Please accept all the loot from Ostros's fortress as a reward for your achievement.
So Scythar will sort of bow in his seat. Thank you. We much appreciate your confidence and your generosity, my lord.
Count Ulrich rings a silver bell, and a human priest wrapped in white robes enters the room, holding 5 Bronze Star medals, one for each of you guys. With the utmost respect and deference, the priest pins a bronze star to each of you, each and every one of your chests. Count Ulrich remarks, "Atheus tells me that each and every one of you showed great courage and promise."
Quite so. It was a well executed plan, I would say. All participants did their duty and behaved with great gallantry.
And during
You should
this
be very
Harm-
proud.
Harm's kind of not saying much. He just kind of starts eating some of the food.
Do you have any questions?
I do. Have you heard any news of the Guild of the Ravens operating in this area?
Well, not in this area particularly. They're very active in the west. We haven't heard of anything about them in the east.
That may be beginning to change. Scythar will say as he kind of like swirls his wine and just kind of noses it.
Oh yes. Well,
we have reason to think that the criminal known as Osros is in league with the Guild of Ravens, or at least in contact with them and doing business with them.
And I kind of clear my throat, and then I'm gonna start speaking. Even if the cat was about to speak, I just say what I'm gonna say, cutting him off. And yeah, they'd kidnapped the child. So when we were dropping Osros off at the church, he's paralyzed. You see, I threatened him with my knife, and he told me that it was the Guild of the Raven that put him up to the job. See, I was curious why they didn't just take the loot, why they had to slaughter everyone and kidnap that child. And he said it was because the Guild of the Raven hired him.
And this explains a lot. Well, it's a sensitive matter, but I do have a mission for you, and if you accept it, then I will reveal more. But that's for you guys to decide.
Does it pay as well as this one does?
It pays well.
I'm in.
Well, I should say some of us are in it for coin, others are more interested in influence. I'm sure this job could secure us both, perhaps.
You would be my loyal confidants, an agent of the Lord's Alliance.
Indeed. Well, I suppose we can at least hear your offer, or
course.
hear the needs of this mission?
Yes. But before that, there is one matter. The land rights and permission to use that stronghold will need to be negotiated with King Haldrick and the royal court. If you would like, I can write a letter of introduction for each of you to gain an audience for the royal court in Rivendell, being that you are a noble. That is part of the loot gain.
Though not of this land, yes, I am. I would be very interested in such an introduction.
Yes. Well, follow me to my private study upstairs, and I shall write you a letter of recommendation. And so Kelrick begins to go away. To walk right up the stairs, you automatically get teleported.
I seem to... Oh, there it is.
I find myself in a long hallway. Hello?
It's this way.
Thank you.
It's times like these that I like to use the arrow gaze, out of character, of course.
Yes.
And so this is like his private study. There's some wine over here, some documents. And he is going to write you he's going to say, so Count Orc writes each of you a letter of introduction to the royal court in Rivendell. Using this letter, you can gain an audience with the royal court if you present this letter to a royal guard of the Citadel. So you can go ahead and add that to your inventory if you want. He sits down, ready to kind of present the next portion. So I have another mission of paramount importance should you choose to accept it. However, this quest involves political intrigue and requires the highest level of secrecy. If you accept this mission, you will need to be under the effects of Zone of Truth and promise never to risk exposing the information you learn to anyone or anything.
Harm looks a little bit uncomfortable when he scratches his head and says, yeah, stealth and discretion is totally my forte.
I have no problem keeping my word.
What of you, Squire?
And Eichler will bow and say, I am bound by the code of honor of all nobility as well.
Excellent. In that case, I will have my good friend Bobby over here cast the Zone of Truth. And you see a priest walk in, ushers a few words, says a few things, casts the spell, Zone of Truth, and now you guys are under its effects. Please make yourself comfortable. We have much to discuss. My spies have revealed a Yuan-Ti cult operating near Felton. Another faction in the Lord's Alliance has a deep cover operative in the cult. I believe this highly trained mastermind is controlling the cult in the shadows. They intend to use this cult to falsely portray me as an incompetent traitor. They want to take over my position as Lord of Felton, and they can only do that if they win a majority in the Lord's Alliance. However, they cannot be seen to act against me directly, which is why they are using these underhanded methods. And I believe this operative is part of the Guild of the Raven that you described earlier.
Your own undercover operative, right?
They have an undercover operative. So let me get this straight. We suspect that the Guild of the Ravens has a undercover operative within this Yuan-Ti cult that is manipulating them to undermine your rule and create a situation in which the Lord's Alliance will be forced to replace you or supplant you as Lord of Felton.
Exactly. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to capture the cultists and investigate how they grew in the heartland of Torronth. Capture the spy, and do not reveal your presence or the presence of the cult. Your reward will be significant, considering the level of discretion and the risk involved. I'll give each of you 2 potions of healing in advance per person, and 50 silver pieces per cultist, 100 gold pieces for the spy, up to 300 gold pieces for the location and the location of a rare magic item for the investigation. However, you lose half of the reward if the cult is revealed to the public. It'd be very damaging to my reputation.
Where
Wait,
is this
so
cult centered?
you're saying they're in town or something? Yeah, a man silently walks through the door. He kind of just almost appears behind Harm, and Harm kind of turns around quickly, putting his hand on his sword. The man says, "It's all right. I'm with the goblin." And then he turns to the goblin and to the Count Ulrich and says, "They seem like all right folks, boss. I think you can trust them."
Very
So
good.
I turn to regard the newcomer and just give him a sidelong glance. Suspicious, but not untoward.
Harm kind of turns up his nose at him and says, "You smell like deceit." "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm an agent of the Lord's Alliance myself," the man says. "My name's Sloss. Pleased to meet you."
Scyther turn back towards Count Ulrich. What are the dangers of the cult being revealed to the public? I mean, is it located nearby or near any population centers?
Well, the location... We don't know the location. If I knew the location, I would send my most trusted vassals, Atheus and Brior Startail, and eliminate them. But I cannot find them. My spies have intercepted rumors that there is a secret passage between the city of Three Run and Felton. They refer to the passage as the Underground Railroad. The cultists travel to their lair by using this passage. However, despite talking with all the reputable miners and merchants, I have yet to locate this underground railroad, if it even is underground, as the name suggests. I believe this will require a party of your background to access. We do know that the entrance to their hideout is at the base of a strange tree, which they call Entwood.
Interesting. So, find the location of the cultists, kill or capture them. Do not reveal their existence to the public. Find the spy and interrogate the spy for all the information we can gain.
Yes, I can interrogate the spy, as long
very
as
well.
he's captured. Do you have any
Sounds simple
questions?
Suppose this Entwood would be the best place to start looking.
Yes, although I do not know where it is. Nor would any of the powerful nobles or merchants or legitimate miners in this city.
Perhaps someone of your talents might know, and Scyther will turn to Sloss.
"I have heard a little bit about it. I have a lead. I haven't investigated it, though. That's where you come in."
Very well, I suppose you'll be joining us.
"That's right. I have to come along to make sure you don't screw up."
It's also
Because, you see, fashion is my forte.
now, my spies have also uncovered other valuable information. My spies have discovered that the cult has at least 36 members, with a powerful Yuan-Ti warlock as their leader. She has the ability to cast Fireball and many other dangerous spells. Roughly half of the members are ordinary commoners that have been misled by this false pantheon. Some of them have magic, some of them are ruffians.
Perhaps we could convince them to give up their allegiance.
And at this point, Sloss actually there's a long straight sword in his hip and he taps it and says, "Ulrich, you're more concerned about secrecy, though, than turning these people away from the cult, right?"
Yes. If they were killed, well, no, don't kill them. The Yuan-Ti are the enemy. The Guild of the Raven possibly is an enemy. And those that are working within the Lord's Alliance to discredit me are enemies. But these are innocents. We need to do what's right.
How many Yuan-Ti do we think there are, exactly?
We believe there's at least 36 members and at least one powerful Yuan-Ti warlock. I don't know how many.
All of them are Yuan-Ti, or most of them just humanoids caught up in the cult?
I think that most of them are humanoids, so there's only one confirmed Yuan-Ti. I got that from my spy intercepts.
"So, this is a mission where doing the right thing comes first. Got it." "You sure narrate a lot, don't you?" Arm says.
Yes, he's a loyal operative. tipsy, and he kind of nods him to say, yeah, and you see Count Orc nod at Sloss.
Sloss adjusts his eye patch.
Now, based on the documents that we've intercepted, we know that the spy operates under the code name Dylan, and has been embedded in the cult for at least 3 months. We know they observe the daily activities of the cult. They have recruited members to join the cult. They report to a handler that manages the spy network in the Felton area. They also have some mercenaries in 3 Run, although we don't know which ones.
Interesting. So we have met multiple leads to follow up on.
Finally, I have my personal guards, Briar Startail, the Leonin warrior, and Atheus Rivermarch, the Centaur Cavalier, and their teams on standby, ready to depart when you find the hideout. They can assist in the capture of the cultist and the spy. Until then, they have their own high-priority tasks to attend to.
Yes, we won't bother them until we're ready to make a move. Their aid will be helpful in convincing many of the innocents to give up the cause, I suspect.
Do you have any questions?
Harm's gonna kind of raise a hand and say, you said the location of their hideouts at the base of a strange tree?
Yes.
Would we be able to spot it from a distance, perhaps?
I don't know what it looks like, only that it's called the Entwood, and it's referred to as... the messages, the tone makes it sound exotic.
And you said we're headed to 3 Run, is that right?
There is what they call an underground railroad between Felton, our city, and 3 Run, which is located to the northeast. But I don't even know what that is. It could be a code name.
Sloss says, I'll find it.
Real quick, I'm going to confer with Egglier real quick. Do we know of any Fey crossings that might include the name Entwood?
And
Egglier's going to search through their collective notes and writings.
Yep. Give me a history check with disadvantage. It's a good idea. It's just and give yourself inspiration. By the way, it's a great idea. It's just it's unlikely to succeed. Okay. Yeah. So you do know that there is references to a what did you call it was?
A Fey crossing.
A Fey crossing. Yes, there are references to it, but you can tell that this particular Fey crossing, based on the lore, is very dangerous and seldom used. That's why it was basically prohibited, and no travelers would use it. Now, why it's dangerous is because there's rumors of a red organism, a parasite that embeds itself in the trees around this crossing, and that guards the crossing. It will, it's so rare that there are barely any survivors that come back to tell the tale. They only say that they saw this red orb, this red organism, and then they run away. Everyone else that stayed, they were never heard from again.
Wait a minute, so you're saying this red orb is part of the tree?
More like not an orb, more like a growth. An organic living thing.
But the tree's red, huh? That shouldn't be too hard to spot. I don't think I've seen
if this is even the one that we're thinking of. If we see something to that effect, it may be a lead we may want to follow up on. We'll see.
Okay. And you see that he has handed each of you guys 2 potions of healing, and that's in your inventory now. If you have no more questions, you are free to disembark and proceed with your investigation.
We may want to check with Corcus again, see if he knows anything.
But before you leave, you must promise never to reveal any of this information. The Zone of Truth right now, Sloss is going to say you won't reveal anything about this information to anyone or anything.
I won't reveal any of this to anyone or anything. You have my word.
I won't reveal any of this information to anyone outside of our circle here. I will not betray your trust.
And Harm says, who would I tell anyway? I'm not going to go talking about this to anyone.